You know who's not at the 2022 World Juniors in Edmonton in August right now? Juraj Slafkovsky, Montreal Canadiens' first overall pick, and a guy that we've said in a few videos already, hey, he's not going to the World Juniors. Sorry, Team Slovakia, y'all are going out there and having to deal with this entire tournament without Slafkovsky and without Nemec, because these two guys might even go out there and make their NHL teams right away. So this August period is pivotal for them to be able to practice, get up to speed, get familiar with their new teams, their new cities, their new systems, and hopefully put in their best foot forward to making the squad at the start of the 2022-2023 season. But today we're talking about Slafkovsky not because of anything that has to do with the World Juniors, but because of what some older folks around the hockey world ended up saying about this player. Let's go over onto this article from Marco D'Amico on Montreal Hockey Now from August 13th, 2022, talking about a Hall of Famer that has high praise for the Canadiens' Juraj Slafkovsky. Now, this source will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read the Montreal Hockey Now, but what this article is citing is an interview with Sport.sk reporter Thomas Prokop. This is a Slovak website that goes over Slovak hockey topics, and Prokop is a Slovak journalist, so go ahead and click the link in the description for the original article as well if you want to go ahead and read that. But the Hall of Fame player that we're talking about that discussed Juraj Slafkovsky in this interview was none other than Slovak superstar Marian Hossa. Hossa is a name that I think is a little bit old school, so some of the guys that are a bit older tuning into the channel be like, hey, that's Hossa, nice. But some of the guys that are younger might still actually have some familiarity with him because his last season in the NHL was 2016-17. I know we do have some viewers out there that go out there and say, oh, I only started watching hockey in 2018 or in 2019. Oh, I was only 6 or 7 years old back in 2016-17, so I didn't really pay too much attention. So here's a little bit of a history lesson for y'all, just in case you are a little bit on the younger side. Marian Hossa was a 12th overall pick by the Ottawa Senators back in 1997. 6'2", 207 pounds. He's 43 years old right now, so he's a little bit on the older side. But Hossa, when he was playing in the NHL, was an absolute tank. And I think tank is the best word to be able to describe the way he plays, because even towards the latter years of his career, when he was winning Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks as the older veteran presence alongside of Kane and Taves, he was still an absolute lightning bolt with the puck. He could just streak down the wing and snipe it. He'd go 5-hole, he'd go top cheese. He just had a very strange ability to score points in a way that very few people in the NHL, especially in 2016-ish, could. Hossa was an Ottawa Senators legend, posting up multiple 80-point seasons before going over to the Atlanta Thrashers, where he was a 100-point guy in 06-07. Eventually, he went over to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 08 season, where he played for the team in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they lost. The next season, he went over to the Red Wings, where he found himself back in the Stanley Cup Finals, and he lost. The next season after that, he went to Chicago, played in the finals once again, so 3 straight seasons in a row making the finals with different teams, and he won the 3rd time. Good on Hossa for going out there and not doing what Corey Perry inevitably did with Dallas, Montreal, and Tampa Bay. It's kind of funny. Hossa and Perry are the only 2 players in NHL history to make the finals 3 years in a row with 3 separate teams. At the very least, Hossa won in the 3rd and final time that he was there in that little stretch. He had made the finals 2 more times, in 2013 with the Blackhawks and in 2015 with the Blackhawks. He won Stanley Cup championships in both of those years, and then in 2016-17, he had played his last season with the club. 45 points in 73 games played. He ended up leaving because there was some sort of a skin condition that he had with his equipment that prohibited him from being able to play, thus allowing the Blackhawks to put him on the LTIR, which very much helped the Blackhawks in keeping together a good team. It was a lot of cap hocus pocus that a lot of NHL fans that were not in Chicago did not like. But either way, Marian Hossa was an absolute all-star in the NHL. He had 1,134 points in 1,309 games. And this is what he had to say about Juraj Slafkovsky, fellow Slovak forward, and the supposed future of Slovakia in the NHL. First overall picks usually play in the NHL right away. I would be surprised if this was not the case with Juraj, said Hossa regarding where he expects Slafkovsky to play next season. I think they'll be patient with him, but it would be concerning if he didn't crack the roster right away. In my opinion, he is ready to start the season with the best players in the world. Throughout the year, he will learn and improve. I don't see a problem in his game. In my opinion, he will catch on immediately. And hey, that's some pretty good praise from Marian Hossa, a guy who didn't make the NHL right away himself. Now, sure, Hossa was 12th overall back in 1997, but it's good to have a vote of confidence from somebody that was one of the better NHL players towards the end of his 30s, like Hossa was for sure. You then have the even crazier part of this conversation. When asked to discuss Slafkovsky's playing style, Hossa immediately brought up the recent comparisons to Jaromir Jagr, as Slafkovsky's big frame and puck protection game are very reminiscent of the Czech winger played in the NHL. There have been comparisons to Jaromir Jagr, Hossa said, and we've even talked about it with our friends. Slafkovsky's skating reminds me of Richard Zednik, who also skated more on the ice. I like how he can cover the puck with his body, and he'll only get better with age. Now, I want to make things very clear. Jaromir Jagr is one of the best NHL players of all time. And when he made the NHL back in 1990-1991, sure, he had 57 points in 80 games played. But you give it 3-4 more years and that's when he started to explode with 149-point seasons, 60-goal seasons, consistent 40-goal years. Jaromir Jagr was an absolute beast, and if he hadn't gone to the KHL, I think a lot of people would see his name up there in the record books a little bit higher up. Actually, maybe not, because he did say that the KHL stint was very good for his development and his progression, but either way, Jaromir Jagr is like a top 10 player of all time. All time. So, saying that Juraj Slafkovsky is going to come out here and play in a similar way, I mean, you want to talk about hyperbolizing it a little bit. I'm not the one doing that. It's Marian Hossa, baby. It's Marian Hossa. You don't want to go out there and tell Marian Hossa that he's wrong. Hey, Marian Hossa, you're clickbaiting us here. No, maybe I'm clickbaiting you by making the video about it and titling it and thumbnailing it the way that I have, but boy, oh boy, are these comments crazy. And I love to see it. Definitely love to see it. So, I also find it interesting that the players that we've talked about here in this video, as we said, Jaromir Jagr's first season in the NHL, he had 57 points in 80 games played. Definitely not the type of season from a first-year player that you would expect to eventually evolve into a 149-point guy, a consistent 100-point guy, a guy that eventually became the second overall points player in NHL history behind Wayne Gretzky. He's got 1,921 points. And sure, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's played 1 million games, but still, Jaromir Jagr is an absolute beast, superstar of a player. And so for Marian Hossa to even hint at the idea that Slafkovsky could be somewhat in the same vein, I think a lot of Canadiens fans should get very, 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 very excited. Links will be in the description if you want to go ahead and read the Montreal Hockey Now piece, as well as go over to the original Slovak website. Big shout out to Thomas Prokop for being the interviewer, who interviewed the interviewee, who was Marian Hossa. Big shout out to Hossa as well. Hopefully his skin condition is doing all right, especially after not playing for 5 years. Yeah, that's kind of a low blow, isn't it? It still kind of blows my mind how Marian Hossa was able to get onto the LTIR that way and eventually got sent over to Arizona, where he played 0 games for 3 seasons. But either way, just for anybody looking on the scoop for Hossa, he's finally retired. He is in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and now he's going out there onto interviews saying that Juraj Slafkovsky reminds him of Jaromir Jagr. So talk to the comments all your thoughts about this Montreal Canadiens top prospect. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Slafkovsky 99. And bye.